All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for showing up this morning to officially welcome back Kelly Krauskopf as President of Basketball Business Operations for the Indiana.
But no one saw this coming. The woman running the entire organization, the president of the Fever herself, just let the quiet part slip out. Her words sent a massive shockwave through the whole basketball world. It raised every eyebrow in the room. For the first time, we saw the franchise's real locker room politics. The clash between building a champion and building a brand was exposed. When you hear the full story, everything you think you know about Caitlin Clark's situation in Indiana changes instantly. Now, let's go back to the beginning. Before Caitlin Clark ever wore a Hoosier uniform, Indiana was one of the least talked about teams in the league. They had 6 wins in 2021, 5 in 2022, and 13 in 2023. For nearly 10 years, they were a joke. No fans, no hype, no cameras. The stands were mostly empty. The WNBA was evolving, but the Fever were stuck in the past. That was the hard reality. A proud franchise became a total afterthought, but the front office couldn't have predicted what was next, no matter how they tried. Everything shifted when the top pick in the 2024 WNBA draft walked in. Caitlin Clark didn't just join the team. She transformed the entire league as a whole. Arenas sold out, ratings shattered records, and her jerseys flew off the shelves everywhere. We've never seen a media frenzy like this in women's sports history, ever. Amidst that massive explosion, the team had a choice. Do they ride the wave or try to control it? That's when things really got interesting. The Fever needed a leader who understood the gravity of what they had. A generational superstar who was single-handedly rewriting the rules for women's professional sports. Instead, the front office made a move that stunned the fans. They hired Kelly Krauskopf as the new president. On paper, it made sense. She had deep roots here and built the 2012 championship team. The squad introduced her with huge expectations, but her first press conference featured rhetoric that raised major concerns. Most people ignored them at the time, but months later, it would haunt the whole franchise. The warning signs were right in front of us. No one noticed until it all started to break. It all came crashing down in July 2025. Caitlin Clark was sidelined with a serious injury. She only played 11 games that year because of a nagging groin issue. Fans were both furious and frustrated. The team was fighting for a playoff spot as the pressure built. That's when the internet found a hidden detail in Krauskopf's October 2024 speech. A clip from her first presser resurfaced. She looked right into the camera lens and made a statement that most people had completely missed. During that press conference, Krauskopf stared straight ahead and sent a very clear message. She said, "This is about the Indiana Fever." She named Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark specifically. She called them core performers to develop, but said she wanted the team to be a brand like Apple, a national leader. That clip went viral in hours and the backlash was immediate. The fan base exploded because they didn't hear a vision. They heard a threat to Clark's future. The reaction caught the front office off guard. The fans were angry, organized, and way too loud. That Apple analogy backfired because people know the real history of how Apple was actually built. Steve Jobs was the one true visionary. When he was pushed out, the entire empire nearly collapsed. So when the president used that comparison, Clark's supporters saw exactly what was happening behind the scenes. They felt the team saw Caitlin as a replaceable part rather than the main attraction. One fan online pointed out that Apple only became an icon because of Steve Jobs' star power. Another didn't hold back, saying the Fever would regret wasting this moment once Clark finally has enough of this front office disaster. The message boards and comment sections were filled with pure rage. Every reply had the same sentiment. You don't minimize the best player this franchise has ever seen. You keep the focus on her. This wasn't just noise. It was a clear warning from fans. Someone in the organization finally realized the situation was spiraling. Hours after the video went viral, everyone realized how serious the situation was. Hours after the video blew up, Krauskopf's whole plan started to get. The account vanished, completely gone. Where there was once a thriving social presence, there was only a haunting silence. No message, no explanation followed. At this point, the whole situation gets a lot more complicated for everyone. Lexi Hull, one of Clark's closest teammates, sat for a profile in Glamour magazine and did not hold back. Hull revealed things that almost no player wearing a Fever jersey was previously willing to make public until now. The whole league knew about the media circus and the wave of fans following Caitlin since she first arrived. There is some serious jealousy over the Fever, especially toward the players who suit up next to Clark nightly. She went even further, revealing that teams across the league have been talking openly about stopping the Fever squad. In their own locker rooms, competitors were saying things like, "We cannot let the Indiana Fever win today." Hull's comments exposed an unsettling reality that had been emerging for 2 seasons. The Fever does more than play. Because of the stars on their roster, opposing teams have singled them out every time they take the floor. This targeted aggression is not about team effort, but one individual. Sophie Cunningham took it a step further. She made it clear early on that taking cheap shots at her teammate would have consequences on the floor. As Clark's enforcer, she stepped forward and confirmed what the entire WNBA had been speculating about. Cunningham admitted that before she even joined Indiana, she heard it. While she was still playing in Phoenix, she said there were explicit conversations about Clark in the locker room. Competitors were not just trying to win, they were trying to make a point. All season, the story of Clark being physically targeted was constantly told. She faced an endless welcome to the league moment. The aggression against Clark left even casual observers totally stunned. By the time her season ended after 13 games due to a groin injury, many questioned the league's officiating. Had they sufficiently protected her? The response was a resounding no from those who were paying very close attention, but that was just the start. Since this happened publicly, the inside story of Clark's coworkers finally emerged. It was not what the critics had expected. The narrative pushed by Clark's loudest haters was a very simple one. They claimed she created problems in the locker room, that the other players on the team did not like her, that no team could withstand the fissures brought on by this level of fame and constant media attention. Cheryl Swoop stated on a podcast in late 2024 that Fever members were quietly showing their indifference. They claimed players could no longer deal with the Clark situation. This rumor spread through the sports world swiftly. It was replayed everywhere, becoming the background noise that followed the Fever into their second season together. That is, until Diana Taurasi and others invited Clark to appear as a guest on a March Madness program. She faced it head-on. She was not angry or defensive. Instead, she was remarkably calm about the rumors. She basically said you get used to people thinking they know what happens behind closed doors when they don't. Her colleagues in that locker room kept encouraging her. After recovering from injuries, her teammates flooded the floor. During the 2025 playoffs, they were there. After the game, they even crashed her post-game interview. They showed up for her at unexpected times. When the Fever won the Commissioner's Cup, the joy was real. There was genuine celebration in the locker room. They were laughing and felt genuinely happy for one another. The players were linked in a way that did not look like an act. This is what media missed. The Fever narrative never centered on whether her teammates liked her. It was about the front office's readiness. Were they ready to surround her with the right pieces and devote all their attention to the project? The connection between Aaliyah Boston and Clark was deep because those links were real on a professional court level. Lexi Hull was loyal. Sophie Cunningham and other new players were raving about Clark before their first game. The links were real between them. Lexi Hull remained loyal while Sophie Cunningham and others gushed over Clark. New players were excited before they even played a game together. The atmosphere in Indiana was changing fast. Even the rookie Michaela Timpson showed a level of respect for Clark that is incredibly hard to replicate. After the expansion draft, Clark posted love for her teammates on Instagram, telling Christy Wallace, "I love you." She called Chloe Bibby her Aussie for life. The affection was genuine. These were real relationships between them. But friendship is not enough to win titles. And that was the tension at the heart of it all. Kelly Krauskopf's comments from that October 2024 press conference revealed something that many people completely overlooked. They were in a hurry to voice their disapproval. Krauskopf talked about the long game, saying she wanted the Fever to be a legacy brand. She argued that reaching the next level takes a generation, noting Caitlin Clark was only 10 years old when Indiana won its only title in 2012. Maybe the team was working for someone else this whole time, planting seeds for a 10-year-old girl inspired by what the Fever did back then. Whether you call that vision or a lie depends on how you view the front office priorities right now. But one thing is certain. Fans flooding Fever games starting in 2024 weren't there for a brand. They showed up for a single player. People drove for hours. The WNBA had never seen spending like this before. The league never predicted these massive crowds. And when Clark's injuries finally caught up to her and stopped her from dominating on the court, ticket sales tanked. Television viewership started to plummet fast. The cold truth about what Clark meant to this franchise was impossible to ignore. But the team, the institution, and the brand were the only things the front office talked about, as if the person drawing that hype was somehow separate from the logo. During that press conference, Krauskopf said something very telling. If you are a smart player and you watch Caitlin Clark play, you would want to join her on the court, she said. That proved even more accurate than she likely realized back then, as the Fever's recruiting success story quietly became one of the WNBA's most fascinating plot lines. Pros were willing to take salary cuts just to fly to Indiana. For the veterans, sharing the floor with Clark was the deciding factor. Sold-out arenas weren't the only places where Clark's fans showed up. Because of the culture being built, athletes wanted to be part of something bigger than just a basketball season. Against all odds, the Fever became one of the league's most sought-after destinations. Not because of some corporate branding strategy, but because of a generational player who elevated everyone around her and sold out every arena she visited. Flash forward to 2026 and beyond. The franchise lost two key players during the WNBA expansion draft. Chloe Bibby went to Portland and Christy Wallace to Toronto. Clark had to face a season meant to be her big second-year leap. Instead, it was an injury nightmare that kept her to 13 games during the regular season. Even with 16.5 points and 8.5 assists, she still made the All-Star game. She remained the center of attention, even while stuck on the sidelines in street clothes, watching. Meanwhile, Krauskopf called their $78 million training facility the bedrock for the next generation. Even if it doesn't open until 2027, this music facility is meant as the ultimate home base to attract elite talent for years. The pieces are all there. The real question is whether the front office actually realizes what they're holding and if they plan to strike before the clock runs out. Underneath the drama regarding the Fever's headquarters and the friction between Clark and her teammates, there's a larger reality at play. It is actually much simpler than anyone wants to admit right now. This squad went from a 5-win season to being the most watched team in women's sports history in just 1 year. This isn't just a reconstruction, it is a revolution. Moreover, revolutions don't come from corporate strategy boards. They happen because of generational artists who make the music more captivating, competitive, and fun for everyone. Fans see the risk in the president's claim about building a brand like Apple, which started a firestorm. It is the same trap that destroyed teams who tried to swap their star for a logo. The athletes in that room know the truth much better than anyone. They've lived it and seen it firsthand. Just look at every emotional sideline moment or social media post. They keep saying in interviews, playing with Caitlin Clark isn't just another job. It is something else entirely. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The Fever must ensure that the people in power running this organization believe that too. One thing is certain, the window of opportunity is open wide, right now. The real question is whether they are brave enough to actually shock the entire world tomorrow. The woman sitting at the top of the whole organization, the Fever president, finally said the quiet part out loud. Her comments did more than just raise eyebrows. The basketball world is on fire. The locker room drama, the politics, the pressure, and the fight to build a champion. The facade finally came crashing down. And when you hear the full story, everything you believe about Caitlin Clark's situation in Indiana shifts completely. Let's rewind to the very start of this saga. Before Caitlin Clark ever donned a Fever jersey, Indiana was a total ghost town in professional basketball. There was talk of 6 wins in 2021, 5 in 2022, and 13 in 2023, a decade-long joke. No fans, no hype, and zero spotlight. Cameras stayed away. The stands were empty. The WNBA landscape felt entirely different, regardless of the Fever. That was the cold reality. A proud franchise became a mere afterthought. But no soul in that front office could have predicted this, regardless of their plans. Everything flipped the moment. The 2024 WNBA draft's top pick stepped into the building. Caitlin Clark changed the game while bringing down the Fever. To stay in the loop, drop your thoughts below, hit subscribe, and ring that bell. Click the video on your screen right now, and we'll see you in the next